All right. Welcome to PJ and the Beard, our 19 conversations series. And this is, in fact, conversation 19. Not that the 19 really had anything to do with the number of times we were going to talk, but you can figure that out for yourself. So, today, just us.
Just the two of us. So far, literally just the two of us.
So nobody will tune in today then. But if you're here, say hi in the comments. Let us know you're hanging out. Yeah, so part of this I put looking forward, and part of it I put recap. Of course, we typically do some kind of clip of the day and pedal of the day. So we could do those things too.
We could.
Ben is in the house. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
What's going on?
AKA I'm Jorge, Ben Rossum, Ben Tom. All right. Thanks for stopping in, man. So, yeah, I mean, looking ahead, Pat and I have been talking about it a little bit. I think maybe we have no idea, I think is what it comes down to, right? We've made no decision.
Right. Just trying to figure out what it looks like moving forward.
There's Brody.
Yeah, Brody took a break from Buff and Chrome on the Harleys to come and jump in.
So, should we do clip of the day first?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, man, take a look. I'm sorry.
Right. We can't play too much of it, but thing I like about Neil Young is whenever something in the world happens, he starts writing music, I think. And so you look at one of my favorite tunes, Ohio, that came out of that stuff when he wrote that. Okay. My gosh, what university was it?
Kent State, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was going to say. And then I was like, wait, is that right? So anyway, he put out a new tune. Let's see if I can get it up. We'll just give a couple seconds of it. But I like the guitar tone in the beginning, so it works. So here's his answer to what's going on in the world today, I guess. Boom. System down. So Neil Young with Crazy Horse, Shut It Down 2020 official music video. Go check it out. It's pretty good. It's classic Neil Young, but man, they look different, man. One of the first concerts I ever saw was Neil Young and Crazy Horse. And there's a reason he's the godfather of grunge, but it's like
yeah, it looked like he was live from Daryl's house and the plumbing hadn't been working for a while.
It's when I was watching that, I was thinking, the video is cool, but man, I would really like to just have been in that room to watch those guys get together and do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
They're playing all that vintage gear that it's not really probably to them vintage gear.
Right. That's right. This is my hammer. This is my screwdriver. This is my pliers.
The gold top I bought way back when and still play. And one guy in Crazy Horse is playing that gold top. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I don't think it has the power of that Ohio had, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I like seeing him do that stuff.
Good old Uncle Neil. Grandpa Neil now, I guess.
Right. Probably. So, pedal of the day?
Yes. Going to require some potential spectacles on my side. So we talk all the time about we like features because you feel like you're getting a bargain, but at the end of the day, we tend to not maximize those features. So today, to prove that point, Here is the Electro-Harmonix Canyon. Technically, it is called a delay and looper, but it does much, much more. It's got, I counted them, I got to count again. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's got 11 features on here. Looper, echo, modulation, reverse, tape, verb, octaver, looper. I might have said that already. But the thing I use it for, I have it set right there. If you can see, probably not because I can't figure it out. It's on shimmer. And we've talked a little bit about shimmer on our channel. That's probably a more commonly used effect in the praise and worship space, maybe more than others. But it basically just, there's an algorithm. We just like to say algorithm like we know what they are. There's an algorithm in there that you like hit a note and it triggers off on the tails some higher octaves and some other things that really make the sound just bloom and just go depending on how you have it set. So a really interesting pedal, honestly. Like, I had it set exactly the way I liked it, and then someone else played my guitar one day and tweaked it. So I'm never sure I got it back to its original glory, but I've got it pretty close. So I'm kind of afraid I should just take a picture, but I haven't really explored the other features. But maybe during this quarantine time, I'll go deeper into the Canyon.
So it's, mostly delay, right? So like modulated delay and things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Like a tape delay and
because it's got an effects
pedal. Sounds great.
Yeah, effects level, delay, feedback. So those are your basic, ones that you would find on a delay pedal. It does have a tap divide button in the middle, and so it is. You can use tap tempo for the delay part. I think it's mono because you have to tell me, Jason, because you use this a lot more. So it's an input. Sorry, it's an input and a tap in. So the tap in would be for remote tap, right?
Yeah.
So there's only one out, so not stereo, but it sounds great.
Sometimes they have a way that you can tap it in, even though there's only one switch on it. But I don't know that pedal.
And there's another version of this called the Grand Canyon, very clever, probably twice as big and twice the features that I would want to buy because it has features and probably still just use shimmer. So it's a cool pedal. I think you could probably get $100-ish probably used. I know Brody and I were talking about this one for a while, but there's other shimmer options. But we were playing this one in a guitar center near Nashville. I had a little bit of fun. Not this particular one, but this pedal. So it's the pedal of the day. I actually, other than my pedals that are over there at the Beard Studio, I think I finally have like all of my gear pedal-wise in the same room. So my little travel board, which is featured on the show before, my incredibly messy one of the 6 pedals has Velcro on it from the church, and then over to my left here, just pedals that aren't on a board at the moment. So
Hack just popped in. Hey, Hack, how's it going? And then Brody said the Angel pedal. The Angel.
Right.
And Ben asked if it has a mash feature. So like if you, I don't think it does. So mash is like if you hold the button down, it will like kind of just hold it infinitely.
I don't think so, but it's funny that you said the MASH feature. I thought you were making a joke about the movie MASH with the helicopters echoing in the canyon, because if you go onto Instagram and you find the combination of pedals that Jason was goofing around with and posted a video out there, you'll hear the helicopter coming to the MASH unit in the middle of that clip. So go check it out. They were coming to save the people from an alien attack. Apparently, if you listen to that clip, it's hilarious.
I'm telling you what, man. You put a heavy tremolo on with that kangaroo pedal and you hit a chord and it sounds like a helicopter rolling through the... I don't know when you'd ever use it, but I love it.
Well, if you ever covered the MASH theme song "Suicide is Painless," maybe you could start it with that, and then just. So anyway, yeah, it's Saturday. We don't have a guest. We're loose as a goose today, so.
Right. So the other thing we talking about was one of the things we've done this channel for like a little over a year now, and I'm not sure that we've ever really featured. Certainly we've played them, but I'm not sure that we ever really kind of featured our own guitars.
Right.
What we talked about during the day. Let's jump back here with Hacksaid. So Hacksaid, kudos on the great guest this week. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. That was. I don't know that that's going to happen again. Right now, we have a lot of fillers out and stuff, but
Yeah.
really not sure what's happening next week. If we have, there's a lot of. We're just not sure. We've been having trouble kind of locking that down.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot, right? Like maybe we get to the guitars in a minute. Maybe we go down this
Right.
path for a second. It's kind of like Fugue Band. We'll get to the other
I'll pull the playlist up while you talk.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of scrolling through here because I can see. We just kind of had this idea of like, what are we going to do to pass the time? And we talk to each other every day, and I was in Atlanta, so we decided, let's do this thing. And the 19 Conversations was a wink and a nod to the name of the current virus more than it was to actual 19 Conversations. However, I told Jason, I said, I think I just threw a shark in the tank because now we're sort of on the hook to do 19 Conversations. And I said, I think except for one day, it was 19 Conversations in 20 days, including today, right? We only took the one day off that I was traveling back.
Yeah.
So we've done 19 out of 20 days having conversations. And, we just didn't know what to expect. And like Jason just put it up on the screen there. So, several of the conversations were kind of like today's. It was just us and then you all jumping in the chat and kind of talking. And then we just kind of circled back. Part of what we wanted to do is like, how is everybody handling this? Especially people that we had the benefit of connecting with in the pedal world and other things from our other episodes, from our normal, weekly filmings of not live things. So we kind of went back to the well on some of those and then involved some of our friends and some others. And, we're going to try to have some big culmination of today, but we are the big culmination of the series today. So that was the whole, background of like that. And so, Jason can kind of go through the conversation. We have to go point by point, but even just start. I think if you look at the screenshot there.
Yeah. So, I mean,
if you scroll down, right, if you go to the top,
I think
1 through 3 was us.
We could do this. So if you look at the playlist and you go all the way back to conversation number 1, not even called 19 Conversations, it was literally an unboxing. I think we got one of the tremolo pedals in. It might have been I forget which one. It might have been the Hampstead tremolo pedal.
I think it was.
But we got that pedal. So we did an unboxing and we were talking, I think, in there just about, well, what if we kind of live, just like fooling with this idea. And that led to conversation number 2, which I guess is kind of like the first one in the series. And 30. So the first 3 was really just us talking. And then Brody joined us, which was awesome. If you haven't seen that one. Well, actually, this is kind of the thing. I'm just going to say it now, so I don't say it every time. We've enjoyed every single conversation we've had.
True story.
With every single person that we've had on the show yet. So there's part of us that, you think, wow, I just talked to David Barber, who has been like the guy whose pedal I've had on my board for the last like 15 to 20 years. My favorite pedal. That's incredible. Or I just talked to Dave Cicito or Brian Ewald, the guy that I'm watching demo all the PRSs I'm drilling over. Part of you thinks, wow, that's really, those should be the highlights. But in fact, Pat and I were talking about it last night. It hasn't been the highlight.
Right.
The highlight has just been all of them, like whether it's Brody or Brian Landreth came on second, got to connect with Hack on one of the shows, got to connect with an old college friend, Eric Gershenhauer. Brian from Howlin' Monkey Guitar Picks, who the way we got connected with Brian is his ad kept showing up in my Facebook page like all the time, like just constantly his ad was there. And I'm like, you know what, if he wants to promote that much,
right,
I'm gonna just send him an email and see if he wants to do this.
So we learned a lot about Tagua nuts and that you can make picks from them.
Right. I'm actually thinking about ordering some of those at some point just for something to do.
He's got a cool pick box too, but we're getting into the weeds. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Chris from Woodshed Guitar Works, who's been on the show many times, good friend of ours. And that was part of, I think, the original, what's Chris doing? What are people doing?
Right.
Drew Swindle, who does Swindler Effects, who we have a whole big, interesting kind of backstory with how we got connected with him.
In case you think we only always say positive things, that's the Drew Swindle story. I made a comment about the pedal we were trying out, and something didn't sound like it should have as a low-end response in the tremolo, and he was out perusing the internet, which he doesn't always do, found it, communicated with us, realized Jason had like serial number 38 and offered, send it back to me. I'll replace it with the upgrade we've done on this. And so we did, and that formed a relationship with Drew, and we've had him on twice now. So
right.
I kind of recapped the story. Sorry, I couldn't.
And the pedal sounds fantastic because I had actually already bought the full tone pedal. Was going to get rid of that one,
right?
And now that right now is the one that I'm keeping. Well, we have 20 new tremolo pedals to go through, but it's going to be hard for me to get rid of that because I really like that. Paul Wolf, my neighbor, was on. He gave us that tour of his basement where he's building acoustic guitars. If you missed that, that's really cool. Like if you just want to see what it is like to put an acoustic guitar together from maybe he would call himself a hobbyist. I would say he's a little bit more into it than being a hobbyist, but
it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, a hobbyist looking to the future to not be a hobbyist.
Right.
BB Made was on again talking about making guitars. Brian Ewald, everything he's doing. John Cusack had that whole thing in the middle where he talked about making 3D printing masks that he's sending out to people that are working with COVID patients. He's making these headbands that visors hook onto. So like makeshift visors that they're sending out to places that don't have enough supplies. And he went through that whole and why it's important and how they're doing it.
And to that point, it's kind of interesting, right? To get to know these people a little bit differently. Jason noticed that he was doing that, and I never understood exactly why, but he is a volunteer firefighter and an EMT in addition to everything else that he does. And so he was acutely aware of the need for the shields that hold the mask. And he went through the whole thing. So like, if you haven't watched it, go watch the interview. He showed what to put the N95 mask on. He's like, well, this isn't quite good enough because you want to protect these. So then the shield comes down, right? And so he's doing the little clip things that the shield snaps into. Well, first he put the safety glasses on. He's like, this still quite isn't enough because you have this part exposed of your face. Then the shield comes on. So at one point he had the N95 mask on, the protective glasses, and the shield with one of the leg lamps behind him. I said, that would be the greatest screen capture from that interview. I thought I was watching some kind of sci-fi movie that, ruins Christmas.
I'm going to go do that too. I'm going to screen capture that and throw that out on
So great. I knew I was going to like John Cusack the moment that like he had to move his office, and one of the first things he did was bring that leg lamp and put it right behind where he sits all day.
Right. That was and I don't think, well, let's look real quick before I get into what I don't think.
Yep.
In the comments,
the dog paw jumped in.
Yeah, and he said, that Paul looks like more than a hobbyist to him.
Yeah.
Or look like Luther. So so oh wait, what were we talking about? Cusack. I don't think people realize, and Pat and I talked about this after the interview. Neither one of us realized how connected John Cusack is in the pedal world.
Yeah.
Like it is not just. Well, first of all, to me, it was Cusack Music. Hey, they did the first tap tempo on a tremolo, whatever. They have that tremolo pedal has like 24, whatever it is, different waveforms. It's sick. Right. It's like some kind of mad scientist developed that.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, okay, well, that's what he does. Cusack, you go to the website, that's Cusack Music. Well, that's like this part. And then he bought out Mojo Hand Effects, and so for the last 3 years or whatever it is, they've been doing that. They just had a release of a pedal that Josh Scott put out on his show. So it's John Cusack and Cusack Music and Mojo Hand Effects. Okay, yeah, but then like they also do things like he does some engineering for companies. They does some like consulting. Like if you're having a problem with your pedal, some of the pedal builders are sending to John to like look at the engineering behind it and help with those problems. He does circuit board construction for a lot of companies. So you might buy a pedal from, whatever pedal company in the circuit board, even though they designed it and got all the specs, the circuit board was made by John Cusack or he made the enclosures. There's companies out there. One of the things that he didn't really get into or talk a lot about, but there's companies out there where he's designed the pedals and builds the pedals, and the company's putting their names on them.
Right.
And that's none of the ones. Well, for one, we wouldn't know who that is, but we know pretty much the people that we've talked to. That's not the people we've talked to. David Barber is sitting. He's a mad scientist, and he's doing the stuff on his own, and But it was interesting to see how connected John Cusack is. And it was funny because he even said it. He's like, I've been around, one of the longest people around, one of the least amount of name recognition. But he's got his hands, relationships in his hands in all kinds of companies with that.
Yeah, and some of them he could tell us, and some he wouldn't and couldn't, and that's fine. We do, occasionally like, ooh, we can maybe have a Springer moment here, but we'd rather keep our happy smiley face thing going here. But like him telling stories that are public knowledge or that he was okay in telling, told a great story about how he helped Josh Scott with something that was going on with the delay pedal with the Panther Cub, and Josh overnighted the circuit to him, and within a day he figured it out, and there's a funny story behind that. But then as he was kind of on the JHS trail, he mentioned that he designed the Muffaletta, which is, his fuzz, one of his fuzz pedals, right? So it's interesting even for a guy that we love, and he's a great historian on pedals and makes great stuff, and even guys like that are getting help from other people. That doesn't mean that Josh Scott doesn't build all of his pedals, don't get me wrong, but it was just interesting to hear how much John Cusack is a player in that world. His name has come up with several of the other builders that we've talked to, and probably if we would have asked specifically off camera, John Cusack, they'd be like, yeah, we get our enclosures from him. Oh yeah, he helped me with the circuit,
Or we want to get our enclosures from him, but they cost too much or something.
Right.
Yeah, he's really tapped in.
Yeah, it was an interesting guy.
Well, who was it? It was Dave Barber that said in the interview that we did with him that said there's pedal companies out there that the guys selling the pedals don't build them. He specifically said the cost of entry to building a pedal company is like next to nothing. You can call somebody up, you can tell them what kind of pedal you want, what you want it to do, what you want it to look like. They will build the entire thing for you, design it, engineer it, put the paint on it, everything, and send it to you. He said, these are the guys that when you send your pedal back to them, if there's a problem with it, they send you a new one because they don't even know what it does.
Or you better hope it's a paint scratch because that's all they can fix.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe.
So it is kind of weird. I mean, I don't know.
It's weird in one sense, right? Because we look at all this stuff very personally and we love it. We're so connected because it's music gear and we love the stories behind the thing. But some people it's a business opportunity, right? They're just reselling things that they buy. But it doesn't feel very personal to us at that point, and we really have gotten into that part of it. But
and then you look at like a good example of where that might come into play is, say you owned a company in the guitar business. Maybe you're building guitars, right? And you want to extend your line so you have more potential for sales. So then you get somebody like Cusack to develop a pedal with your company's name on it that can be something that you're selling through your company. So,
right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like it sounds worse.
Yeah, like Bent Tom, his comment is that this is not new to other industries, though, besides guitar, which is true. And in the guitar world, it's like, I think back in the day, and I don't know what the situation is now, but like Cort, which you don't really see much anymore, was building guitars for everybody. Like I think some of these factories abroad in Indonesia and other places have been building guitars for a very long time for a lot of different people. And it's all coming from the same probably handful of places.
Oh yeah. Somebody said, the Dog Paw said that he never hears Kingsley amps and pedals mentioned. So that might be a name we should look at just to see.
Well, we have a Canadian in the chat. Guitar Hack's in here.
Fujijin.
You're looking up Fujijin, and
there's Dave.
Yeah, hi to David Barber.
Oh, you didn't say anything bad to me.
I said he didn't make any of his own pedals, and people send them to him, and he just sends them out. I think that's what I said. Is that bad?
So, low bar, the low bar of entry is unique to the pedal building, right? Yeah. So, I mean, they've really opened our eyes to that whole. Like, we never thought about that at all before. That was interesting.
Nope.
So, I mean, speaking of Dave, and we were running down this rabbit trail of all these things that we did, Brian Ewald is good friends with Dave, and so that's kind of how we got hooked up with Brian. Have Brian on the show, so that was really cool of him to like kind of touch base with that and help us get somebody on. And Brian Ewald was amazing to talk to. That guy, monster player.
We've joked about having those two on the show together, Brian Ewald and Dave Barber. They'll be in the bottom two squares, and then Jason and I'll be in the top two squares, and let them talk to each other. We'll just be like,
well, and
show.
That was a good idea, and I actually got a couple messages sent to me after that show where a couple people were like,
"Do it,
yeah, do that." Because Brian had said, "Well, why don't we plug all Dave's pedals in, and we'll get Dave and I on, and we'll play them, and we'll talk about them." And I think that would be great. And I know Dave is waiting on enclosures to come in for that version 4 of the Barber Electronics for his direct drive, and that would be like a great time to do that. If we could pull that off, that would be awesome.
So you looking up those amps? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I was reading some comments here.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All right. So let's see. We talked about looking at. Is there more to talk about in there?
I don't know. I heard this funny. I listen to comedy sometimes when I'm mowing or whatever, and to my Canadian friend or friends on the chat, it was so great. They're like, sometimes in America, like we forget about Canada. It's like the attic of the house, and you forget that it's there. But then when you go up there, you're like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff up here. Why don't I come up here more often? So, to that point, with all these things talking about things that are made in Canada and things like that, maybe we should get up in the attic a little bit more and look around.
Dave, that's at least 34 months at this point. I saw this comment pop up. I was like, no, are you kidding me? It can't be that bad. 3 to 4. He corrected himself. 3 to 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's very important in that. I
was going to say, I'll take a direct drive in a case made from a 3D printer. That's fine. I'll just step. It's an always on pedal, so you're not going to step. You're going to step on it one time, and you don't have to touch it again.
Right. I mean, maybe 3 to. So let's talk to Mr. Barber here. 3 to 4 months to get the enclosures you want with the awesome graphic on. That's not
right.
What about a
ghosting?
About a special like COVID run of electronic direct drives where you just write on them, get the blank cases? You
should, because I'll tell you, just to segue real quick. I saw something about Josh Scott. All the pedals they're building right now, they're putting like a little sticker in there that says this was built during COVID-19. So, because he's a collector, right? So yeah, Dave, whatever it takes to get these things out, let's do it. Indicate that it's from this time. Because we had David was kind enough to bring his own personal one over, but fortunately for him, he left with it that night because we had no idea what was coming. Because that would have been the way we would have gotten a direct drive, because he wouldn't have been able to get it back from us. And the Exacta, 2 pedals that got away.
I know. I want to try the Exacta. You want to do guitars?
Sure.
You want to go first?
Yeah, mine's right here. Not sure how good this is going to be. So Jason and I have made. Sorry, I'm gonna actually have it plugged in. Jason and I have made no secret about our affinity for a certain guitar brand, which was so kind of cool. Why we had Brian Ewald on, but I really haven't played this much on the show because it is number one and it resides at the church where I do the majority of my playing. But I guess I'll start like this and try not to rip my headphones out. So it's a 2008.
Here, wait, let me make you big. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm already big enough.
Bad host.
That's why I'm trying to walk every day. So it's a PRS 08 single cut hollow body Moons, because between Jason and I, we have 9 PRSs, not a bird on any of them. It is like a Silver Burst. Gosh, backwards. Ace Frehley approved, probably in that way. It's got the, gosh, I am completely backwards. Sorry, kids. It is 3-way toggle. Wow, this is like a bad joke. 3-way toggle, right? They're Starla pickups, and then it's got a coil tap here. It is a full hollow body. It is super light.
I feel like that one's a little thicker than some of the other hollow bodies.
It might be. it the back is carved again. Is Brian Ewell was talking about different of the arch tops and how they're carved, and it's a great guitar, man. It basically plays itself. It's super light. It's got F holes in it. You put a blue light on something or an F hole, I'm like, take my money now. So this one has 2 F holes. So I love the guitar. Play it all the time. It's the one that I did grab and bring here, so that if I am going to play, which I've been trying to play more here. So, yeah, I don't. David's asking a question about it. The Starlet pickups are great. I have 5 different PRSs, all core models. It's not what they were called at the time when I got them. And the one thing I like about it is every one of them has a different pickup in them. I haven't repeated any pickups. So I have a single cut that's not a hollow body that has the PRS 7 pickups, I think they're called. And then I have a 91 CE24 that has the original HSS bass and treble pickups in it. I've got a custom 24, a 95 black custom 24 that has dragons in it. And I have an original EG3 that has 3 Lindy Fralin dominoes in it. So I don't know much about this guitar, Dave. I think the reason I even knew they were Starlers right away is because the hang tag, the case candy, was still there. But I've never sent anything to PRS and asked any questions about it. But I love it. I hesitate to say it, but if I could only keep one electric, this would probably be it. But given our tagline, I don't think I'm ever going to have just one electric. So that's it. Love it. Really versatile guitar. Yeah, Brody says Oakland Raiders colors. Yes. So I love that guitar. It's great. It holds tune well. It's got locking tuners. This version of the PRS locking tuners, not the wings. I got 2 guitars that have the wings on it, which is, I'm super lazy and hate to change those, so I always try to pawn that off on somebody else. So I think I talked Jason into it once, but
no, I used it. The one time I didn't take a guitar with me to a rehearsal or something, I used that one and broke a string.
He did.
Right after you had it changed. You just had it changed, and
Chris just set it up, changed the strings, and
Captain, that. Yeah.
I just got it back, and Captain Strongfingers decides to pop a string on my guitar.
Not a channel for minimalist.
No.
Well, that night that David came over to do the interview, he did PRS with him. We never got to that.
Was that the Mira X? It was like the X series that you were saying a lot of people kind of poo-pooed, but you really like it.
If you have it handy and you're sitting next to a computer, I can send you a link and you can show it off. So, mine.
Yep.
Number one, but number one. Let me see if I can make this big. So when my son was born in 2001, I was able to pick this up because it was supposed to be the year he was born. Turns out it's a 2000, which is all right. But it is a 2000 McCarty. It is not a 10 top, but my gosh, why?
Yeah, there's certain times at the church when those stage lights hit that thing, and even like that right there, you're just like, what is going on?
I think it's probably this. There's a little bit, like the PR, and like down here, there's a little bit of that kind of I don't know what they call it.
It's like someone dropped a pebble in the water back there and it disturbed everything.
Right. But I mean, you get that under the light just right.
Mm-hmm.
And that guitar. That's the year he was conceived guitar.
That's good.
That's great. Yeah, and it has some little. I mean, it has. This one got played a lot, so it's McCarty. Like Pat said, Moons. I don't know if there's any, worth showing on the back. It's still in pretty good shape. It's great on the camera. You can't see. There's some big scratches here and there. McCarty pickups. And unlike Pat, who has all these different PRSs and has different pickups in every one, I like the McCarty pickup so much. There's a 2001 Swamp Ash Special, and one of the things I liked about that guitar is it had McCarty pickups in it too, and then has an extra pickup in the middle. So that was like number 2. So when we would gig, number 1 was this, and if I had to go to number 2, it was string change or breakage or whatever. Still had the same pickups. And then later, I was able to get on the show a couple of days ago. We had that the hollow body I have, which is a 2001 McCarty hollow body and has McCarty pickups in it. 3-way toggle, like Pat said, push pull, split the coils, wrap around bridge without the individual saddles intonate. So
same bridge as mine as well. Vintage tuners, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There was something else. Unlike Pat's, right? Mm-hmm. Vintage tuners. And I have to, the Swamp Ash has
the wings, right?
The wings on it, but the hollow body doesn't. I don't like locking. I must be like the only guy in the world that just doesn't like locking tuners. Like, I just don't care. Like, it's not. In fact, if you see like a guitar for sale and they're like, I upgraded them to locking tuners, I'm typically like, well, you didn't upgrade it to locking, you changed it to locking tuners. Like, I mean, just because you spent an extra whatever on it doesn't mean it's technically an upgrade, because I just like that. Brody said, what neck? Wide fat. Yeah, it's a wide fat neck.
Which they call those different things. So I feel so old, like core line now, different neck carves. I think I'm starting to understand the pickup names and stuff like that. But like some of the
then they changed all the neck carves, like to the modern, the vintage modern, whatever. But
right,
one of them is still pretty close to the wide fat neck, and I think all 3 have the wide fat neck on it. The only difference on the, and that was kind of a good reason to go this way too. I got 2 out. You still had the 3-way toggle, push-pull, McCarty pickups. You got the extra pickup in the middle. And then it changes and you get the maple neck. So, but yeah, then you do have the locking tuners. And
but
that's a bolt-on.
Hold that top up like you were with your other one, because the grain on that top is pretty ridiculous too, in a very different way. Yeah, you can see that.
It's a cool guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me what the pickup configuration is. Like
probably a 5-way, probably a standard Stratish 5-way, I imagine. Yeah, the one you have though, like if his hollow body 2 ever disappeared out of the base of it, there'd only be one culprit for that. That guitar is magnificent. I'm jealous. I love this, and I don't get into the upper register too much, but I played a little bit this week, and I'm like, oh man, if this thing was a double cut, that'd be fantastic. And then his has the piezo option, and so yeah, hashtag PRS goals. Yeah, nice piece of ash, nice.
Dog Paul said he'd be back after the PRS stuff.
Yeah.
That's all right. Not everybody gets it.
Right. Bet Tom's on fire today.
Upgrading locking tuners. That's a guy telling me his wife upgraded her chest. Not classy. Yeah. Because you hate the tuners. Well, is that... Oh, Brody said because he hates the tuners. He has the locking tuners on his, right?
He does. We both have 2 kind of unique ones. We have a theory I asked on the tour of the PRS factory. Both of us have 95s, guitar, 1995s. And that was the year they were moving out of the old factory into the new Stevensonville factory, which is not so new now. And we have 2 guitars that are completely painted. Top, back, neck, headstock. Still has a maple cap. But we were like, hey, did these tops maybe not pass muster? And that's why they kind of painted some of these. And guys like, maybe, could be. So that's the one I have that's black with gold hardware, locking tuners like that with dragons. His has zebra pickups in it. I don't remember what those were. They're definitely like a zebra kind of pickup. So anyway, yeah, that's the other one he has too. So the only PRS he has the locking wings, which that means you just have to buy another PRS, Brody.
So there's one. Here's maybe we get some input from the chat. I've never sold a guitar. So when I started getting into this and started going to the blues jam and learning from those guys, I had a Telly that I had traded from Eric that we had on the show, that black Telly, and I had that teal green Strat that my wife hates. All right, so that teal green Strat was the first like real guitar I ever bought. The red McCarty was the second real guitar I ever bought. I think those are the only two guitars I've ever bought like brand spanking new. Maybe it might not be true. But those old guys at the blues jam, they would always say, "Oh, that guy used to have this whatever 19 whatever Les Paul or this 335, and I never should have sold that." And I made up my mind. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to sell a guitar because I'm not going to be that old guy at the blues jam that complains about, I used to have this.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been thinking about selling a guitar, and surprisingly, it's a PRS.
Oh, well, okay.
So should I? Here,
you should.
We'll get an opinion. Oh, you know what, Pat? I have one of yours here too.
Oh, you do. That's right. You have my gold top there. That's right.
Should we show that?
Let's do that. Because that is the same year as your McCarty. I think they're both 2001s.
I'm thinking about selling this one.
Yeah, that's right. Like $750.
Yeah, $300. Just send me a text message.
I'll give you $500 not to sell it.
Non-locking tuners.
So that's a 2001. I say it's a lawsuit. No push pull, right? I say that's a lawsuit, but I think 2000 is the first time they produced the single cut that got them in that lawsuit with Gibson that they ultimately won. Well, that's a 2001 Moons. That's the one that has the sevens, the PRS 7 pickups on it. It's kind of the standard Les Paul setup with the three-way toggle and the volume tone, where Jason likes the McCartys because of single volume, single tone. That was still a bit more old school, if you will.
Dogpilot normally thumbs down when a PRS is mentioned. He's holding back. I'd be interested to know what your why though. What's the? I don't know. Everybody has different beefs. Sometimes it's just the headstock, probably, right? Like people get really. I don't know. When I was young in high school, there was a band that I loved, and I used to go watch all the time. And their guitarist used the PRS, and he's one of my favorite local guitarists, and even I would say one of my favorite guitarists. And after watching him play that PRS for so long, they became. Anyway, this is the one I'm thinking maybe selling. So it is a PRS SE Soap Bar 2. Is that Moons?
Yep.
Yep. Moons. 2 soap bar pickups. No carve on the top. Flat carve. Does have a nice big ding right on the. You're right. This is hard.
It is hard. It's relict. On the headset.
Yeah, it's relic. So an upcharge. The one volume, the tone pot's a little cracked on it, but 2 P90 pickups. I mean, great guitar. The neck when you play, it's probably out of tune, but when you play it, the neck feels just like the McCarty.
Oh, the other thing go ahead, sir. Sorry, Jason.
I just can't get with it, and I really am starting to like P90s, but I hate to say it, that's not the one.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have to let go of a PRS, it's an SE, but it's pretty early SE, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah, and they're actually, I mean, they're actually well loved.
Mm-hmm.
The Soap Bar 2s are well loved. They hold their value and stuff. It's not the one.
So back to Brody real quick here, because he mentioned his. The one thing people don't like, but I just got so used to it because my first 2 PRSs had that 5-way rotary switch instead of a toggle or a blade. And so Brody's is a 22, stop tail 22 nickel hardware, I remember, and has that 5-way rotary. So it is between the locking nuts with the wings and the 5-way rotary, people kind of had to get used to it, and then Paul basically moved away from all of that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I've never had one with a 5-way rotary. So Brody put a 3-way toggle in it and changed the tuners. I mean, just saying, you could.
He's not a modder. He's my friend that said I want to give it the way the creator intended it. So
right, and he has enough. He doesn't need to.
Right.
I haven't heard from Dave for a while. He said he was checking on something. I did send him an email though, so if he hears that, he does have an email.
See if he just randomly pops in.
Right. In 1979, I designed a headstock in a 25-inch scale. I tried to sell a copy of Santana, who stole the idea. Originally made by. So wait, Santana stole your headstock idea? Is that what he's talking about? That would kind of burn you a little bit.
Yeah, and the scale too, because kind of jumping off that. Just message app.
I sent it. I just sent it to your email.
Yeah, Bent Tom. I'm kind of interested to play a Nags because that's Joe Nags who ran the private stock for Paul Reed Smith for years. And Nags' name, I was curious. I've always been curious about that, like what happened there and what's the deal and is everything so friendly? But the guy that gave us the tour brought up Joe Nags' name, and it wasn't like horses were whinnying like Young Frankenstein. But they have some interesting. Some of their finishes are really interesting. I wasn't wild about them at first, but Nags are definitely growing on me.
Yeah.
One of my
Santana 2 years before he met PRS. I'm looking for. Keep talking, Patrick.
Okay. Well, if I have to. The train left the station though, on whatever brilliant point I was making there. I just can't think of his name. That's why I stopped talking. There's a couple really good players. I follow Eric. I think his name Eric Steckel on Instagram. He's a big Nags player, as well as Doug Rappaport. If you have not gone down a rabbit trail with Doug Rappaport, you need to do yourself a favor and go do that. I was at a concert. Edgar Winter was playing. His brother Johnny was there as well, so I did get to see Johnny before he passed. But Edgar Winter played, and so did Rick Derringer. And they kind of shared the same band. And the guitarist, like for the Rick Derringer went first, and the background guitarist kind of hung back. And then the second one, and then there's David Barber. Rick Derringer went first, and the background guitarist
Yeah, turn off your YouTube.
And then the second one, and then there's David Barber. Rick Derringer went first, and the background guitarist.
I do it all the time.
I'm working on it.
I sound like I'm calling a baseball game. So anyway, in the second set, real quick, finish the story. In that second set, when he came out and they do all the trading back and forth with the solos between the saxophone and the keyboard, Doug Rappaport, I'm like, who is this guy? So Doug Rappaport is also a big Nags endorser. So now they welcome David Barber in his garage. Look at that. Where the magic happens.
Yeah.
All right, how's it going?
There's bites in the back.
No, wait, I think
Guitars and stuff are.
There it is.
My thing lined up.
Yeah. So is that the Mira X or was that what it was?
This is a Starlax.
Starlax, right? Okay, yeah.
P90 pickups.
Yeah, that's. I mean.
Is it required that every Pelter builder we've interviewed can play us under the table? Go ahead, David.
Yes, it is, because it makes sense.
So kind of the cool thing about these is that they have like that just beyond a telly, somewhere between a telly and a PAF kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get that. That you kind of expect a little bit more out of something like a telly. But they also can get that, bigger sound, too, where. but it's super light, like crazy light. Like it feels like it should be a hollow guitar. And I don't know why it didn't go well for PRS in the Starla X.
Because that was pre-SE, right? The X series?
Pre-S2.
Okay, but not SE. Okay.
Yeah, I think the S, if you look at it, it seems like the S2s grew out of this because it's got the pick guard, it's got all the electronics mounted into it. It's a flat profile top. There's no carve or anything to it at all. So it was real simple to put together. And so the jump from that to this Starla.
Yep. Love that.
Yeah,
Now that has a little shake to the top, where the other one was totally flat, and that's an S2. So, but this has got the humbuckers on it, the Starla ones, like PJ's guitar does. And that sounds more like a Gretsch type of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little mod going on with the neck pickup now. So that ends up sounding a little bit more Strat-like. I don't know if you can hear it or not, whether it's coming more off the guitar.
Yeah, I mean, you get the idea of it. It gets a little compressed and stuff in the stream, but you can, when you've been switching pickups, you can hear that there's what the difference would be. I mean, I think if you've been in the room with guitars, you get an idea.
Okay, good. Yeah, so on the neck pickup, normally these neck pickups on these Starlas are a little bit dark sounding. But I have a capacitor in line with it, in series with it, which clears up the bottom end. And it makes it sound somewhere in between a Gretsch and a Strat. And that's a humbucking sound right there. That's not, I don't have the switch pulled. Matter of fact, I have the switch removed completely on that. That's what it is. So I never felt like the VRS uses. So instead of them completely splitting the humbucker, and so normally you have two coils with a humbucker, and then you have the little split coil, and that just knocks out one, and you've got one coil kind of like a single coil. PRS has it so that the other coil kind of sneaks in a little bit. And that's kind of an old repair guy trick that's been around for a long time. They call them partial splits. And that's what gives you a little bit more volume, like on the David Grissom model, and gives you a little bit more of a full sound that sounds like there's more windings on the single coil pickup, the way a real single coil is. But they don't tend to have the upper presence. They still sound a bit like a humbucker too. They're like a, more tame version of a humbucker. So I always felt like, at least with the Starla, I was better off just to trim a little lows because it's already pretty twangy in the top. But the Starla pickups have like a lot of push in the bottom. So using that one capacitor in line with the neck pickup makes it sound a lot more clear and like something in between Gretsch and single coil. So it's pretty cool that way. So yeah, I have a couple Starlas.
Yeah.
When we finally get to come down to your place, I'll bring mine. Let you up.
Please do. No, yours is really cool. I haven't seen any like that one before. And
I hadn't either.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering. I was like, did you put that? I thought maybe you bought the hollow body and then found a set of Starla pickups, but I don't ever remember that model being offered that I saw.
Yeah, the original case is at the church. I sadly shoved that in a gig bag when I was trying to, run out of the burning building per se. But I found the original hang tag. That's the only reason I kind of knew that it was original to this guitar.
Yeah, well, I've got a cream one too.
So you're a fan of the Starlas, I think.
So I got three. I ended up kind of went down the rabbit hole by accident, and for a period of time there, you could pick them up for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. I mean, I picked up all three of my Starlas for less than a used core price. And I guess this is considered a core because it's pre-S2. It's American made. I see guys call them core pickups. I a piece of foam underneath the high strings because they kind of ring a little bit on their own, and that tends to come through the pickup. And kind of par for the course. If you get a guitar, you have to find out what its idiosyncrasies are, and then try to find the best way to deal with them. And so that's what's going on there. And the knobs, of course, aren't original. I just had those. I got another PRS.
I'm all right with that.
I did too. Dog Paw probably signed out and went home, but I'm sorry about that if he's still around.
That's nice. Wow.
Oh yeah, look at that top.
That's a McCarty from 2000, the Bird.
Yes.
Rosewood neck.
Oh wow.
And the pickups have been changed over to Seth Lovers. So it doesn't have the original McCarty pickups in it. I wanted to change those out. And it sounds, pretty much like an older Les Paul. It's got that sound really, to me, more so than it does like the McCarty pickups. The McCarty pickups are, I think, a little bit hotter take on what a PAF sounds like. I wouldn't call them hot, hot pickups, but they're definitely, a little bit. All those earlier PRS pickups tended to have a little extra go. He liked to put enough extra windings on them. So a 7K pickup that's normally like in PAF territory, he'd push it to 8.5, K. And that doesn't tell you the whole picture, just the windings, but or the resistance, but it does give you an idea. And on those McCarty pickups, they were a little darker. And so putting the Seth Lovers in there really made a difference in this one. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
But I won't play any known songs because they'll
we're not monetized anyway. I think we lost him for a second.
But that sounds, more Gibson than what the Starlas do. But that's a cool guitar. All right, I think you guys have to show one.
What?
I think you guys have to show a guitar now.
Jason's gonna have to be the one. Well, I've showed the 63. I guess they were still called Les Paul Juniors at the time. It's the white SG that was my grandfather's. And
I missed it again.
I'll bring it. Hold on for you. One moment, please. Hold, please. Jason, play some saxophone music in the background. Maybe you could make like sting like a clarinet in an elevator. That'd be great. Hold on.
I know a couple other guys that took their McCarty pickups. I like those pickups, and I don't know if I like them. It might just be because those are what I got used to. You know what I mean? Like I've been playing them for so long now. Like they just like kind of. I've wondered if I would change them.
They're good pickups. The Seth Lover has a combination of clarity, but it's also got depth. So there's kind of a strong mid-range push in those McCarty pickups. They're like kind of got a thicker quality and a little bit more output. The Seth Lover just ends up sounding more like a traditional Gibson. And for a 25-inch scale guitar, some guys will really go on about that extra, little bit of length that you get, on a PRS over a standard Gibson. But you can close the gap a long way by getting something that sounds as authentic as possible to what early PAF sounded like. Even though there's different versions of early PAFs, the McCarty's not quite an early PAF pickup. It's like PAF plus a little bit of 1980 crept in. Whereas, a Seth Lover or a DiMarzio 36th anniversary or something like that, those all tend to sound, and I know PRS has some newer pickups that have a little bit more of an actual PAF kind of vibe to them. I'm trying to get the sun out of the picture. Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if I could change them. It's just I like them so much. But I mean, that's
for me.
That guitar with the Fender amp, I know what it does. You know what I mean? I think that's half the battle. For
me, it's less than an hour's work. It's like 15 or 20 minutes work. If I don't like them, then something else goes in, or the old pickups go back in. So. I know for a lot of people who don't change their own pickups, it's like a whole ordeal to drop the guitar off, have a repairman change them out and all that. But
I'm getting close. I've done it. Well, I've changed some wiring harnesses now. Like I rewired that Epiphone. I mean, I'm getting closer to being able to do that. But
yeah, it's something I do on a regular basis. I'm changing pickups. So I just changed pickups in a Telecaster yesterday. The day before that, I think I changed pickups in another Telecaster. I'm kind of always, fooling around with things. I'm always buying pickups. because whatever gets popular, that's what I have to listen to all the effects with. I have to find out, is the latest stuff working? When the V-Mod pickups came out from Fender, and that was the standard pickup on all the new guitars, I got a set of V-Mod pickups right away for a Strat and for a Tele. I didn't go out and buy a whole new guitar. I just needed the pickups. And, invariably, as soon as a new model comes out from Fender and whatever the stock pickups are, whether it's the Fat 50s or the V-Mods, there'll be a bunch of guys that buy those guitars and don't like the pickups right off the bat. They run right to or Steve Duncan on the gear page or on Reaver, and then I buy them and I put pedals around, what the current thing is that thousands and thousands of people are suddenly going to have, because that's what Fender's putting in the new American standard,
Right.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so here it is. It's a 63. That's not true. It's 65. I guess I do have the original tremolo in the case.
Okay.
But just did a wraparound on the bridge.
Yep.
Original single P90. You can see the couple little flaws here are the crack in the pick guard.
That's nothing. I love the knobs.
Right there, and up at the top of the horn there. There's the pick. It's cracked down there as well.
Is it just the camera, or is it begging for a setup and a cleanup?
Oh my gosh, yes. I try to think the other day. I think it's been in a case for almost 10 years. So really cool. Like here's the headstock.
It looks great.
It's got a lot of checking on it. I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, it definitely needs a setup and some loving for sure.
That just makes it cooler.
But you can see when my grandfather had it, it was already had checking on it. You really can't see that there. Now, doesn't it look TV yellow now? I can't get the right. Yeah, maybe you can see it there. You can see it there.
I think it looks cool, man. People spend a lot of money to get guitars to look that way.
Right. I will say, it's got a lot of checking, but really, as far as dings go, this is pretty much the only one that's to the bare wood right there. That's it. Maybe a small one, a very small one on the headstock, really light couple like here. But yeah, so my grandfather had it. I've got the original. I want to say it's the Gibson Skylark amp from the same thing. So what I held up when you were probably talking, it has the original case. It has a little placard that had his name engraved on the front. It's got the keychain from the place. I think he bought it in West Virginia. So it's really cool. It's sat in a case for way too long. My friend Brody, who we keep talking about, loves this guitar and loved playing it. With the single P90 kind of doing some of the things I did, it just wasn't for me at the time. And plus, it was kind of sentimental. I'm like, I don't know if I want to drag this thing out to a bunch of gigs.
Yeah, well, that tone control goes a long way on those old P90s, because you can't get a neck sound out of it. But that's how you balance the sound of those, just like you do with the Tele. Like nobody plays their Telecaster on the bridge with the tone knob all the way up. Nobody.
Right.
I mean, you can, but you're going to take heads off. So that's kind of the way that P90 works. Is you tend to back it off and get it into the kind of the EQ spectrum of like a humbucker.
Right. Yeah.
Record big fat.
Yeah, to your point, I just looked down and I had the tone at like 7 from what I was noodling with it the other day.
Yeah, and that's typical on those guitars. That's what you're usually doing, and usually using the volume knob a little bit more in order to be able to, kind of. Only when you play solos does it go all the way up, and then when you're playing your rhythms, it usually comes down a little bit. At least on those kind of guitars, it takes kind of a commitment to them to learn that they can be really versatile. That a single, P90 there's a lot more there than looking at it and going, oh darn, I don't have a neck pickup. Oh darn, I don't have the combination of the two. It's really getting everything out of that one position. There's a lot of guys who do it. It's a worthy challenge.
So it looks like the dog paw's still in here. I'm hoping that the Gibson popping up. I hope he likes that better than the BRS's.
Oh, wait a minute. I couldn't see the chats, but now I can.
So I've been thinking about that, Dave. I have a old Mexican Tele over here that I've been thinking about changing as one of my COVID-19 projects, changing the pickups in. I just need to figure out what pickups I want to get, and I didn't really even think about that. Maybe I should just start browsing the used market on Reverb to see what I could find. And
That's what I do. All you need is, do you have a multimeter?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so when a set of pickups comes in used, if you don't have time to install them right away, but you want to make sure that they're good, just check what the resistance of the pickup should be. Like, let's say the pickup should be 7K. Just put the meter on them when they first come in, check them. That way you know that they're probably good. And you don't have to worry about, that's kind of the scary part of buying used pickups is, will I get a dead pickup? Well, as soon as they come in, you can put the meter on them and be pretty sure whether they're going to work or not. Because really the only thing that could go wrong with them, they're not usually going to get demagnetized. It's just that there'll be a break in the wire. So when they come in, even if sometimes I don't install a set of pickup for months, but as long as I test them and know that the resistance is correct according to the manufacturer, I feel solid that they're a decent set of pickups. But it really
what would you look for a telly on the used market?
What would I look for?
Mm-hmm.
Well, lately I've been kind of partial to a set of Duncan Anico 2 that I have. A little bit, and all the time the telly you don't like is just how spiky it can be in the top. And Anico 2 still has a vintage output, but it has a little bit more. It's a little bit more forgiving in the top when you pick hard. So that's a good pickup. If you're looking for something that rocks a little bit more, then the Fender Texas Special.
Yeah, I thought about those.
Pretty high, but they still sound like a telly. So those are cool. Obviously, Lindy Fralin makes some really good, telly pickups. But there's a ton of options. They have telly pickups that sound like They have telly pickups that sound like P90s. They have traditional ones like I have another Telecaster like you have, a hot rod.
Mm-hmm.
You have like a 52 hot rod, right?
Right.
Now I took those original pickups out that had the mini humbucker in the neck and that had a special wind bridge pickup that was meant to try to go with that mini humbucker, and I changed mine over to be able to use no-caster pickups. So mine's closer to just like a plain everyday, 52. But I wanted the flatter radius board, the 9.5, and I wanted the taller frets that came with that model. So, and those sound real good. I mean, those no-caster pickups, they sound like an old telly. I mean, they really do a great job. If you have a telly that you want to set up just to be just like an old telly, the no-casters do a really great job of that. And those Anico 2s do a really good job of that. If you want them to sound, very old telly-like.
Somebody asked in the chat about the Ronnie Ellis pickups, and I see BB May just jumped in. He was on the show earlier this week, so hi, BB. What do Ron Ellis pickups? Are you familiar with those?
I'm not, and so here's what tends to happen with me. Pickups that get very popular are the ones I go out to buy. From the smaller builders, it tends to be split between, Ron Ellis, Lawler, Wolftone, and a bunch of other guys. So it's a little bit harder for me to run out and buy every popular boutiquer's pickup because there's so many. It's almost like that's another low bar of entry. You buy yourself a winder for a couple of $100 off StuMac and some wire and some magnets. And the next thing you know, you're off to the races making yourself pickups. And in another few years, something actually. But, that so there's an awful lot of guys. I'm not saying that about Ron Ellis. Ron's supposed to be really good. I haven't tried his.
Right, and like Lawlers are supposed to be really good too, but
Supposed to be great.
Yeah, I mean, how much do I want to put into a Mexican telly that I haven't played in ages, But I would like to think that would bring it alive a little bit because I have to think the pickups in there aren't really good. So I kind of feel like if maybe putting better set of pickups in there, maybe that would bring some life to that.
Is it considered a standard?
I have no idea.
So the bridge on the one they call the standard, that's your typical Mexican telly. The saddles are a little limiting in their sound. It comes with, does it have a 6-saddle bridge?
Has a 6-saddle bridge and it's not through.
So I replaced those with Goto saddles, solid steel saddles that I get from CE Distribution. I think that's the same thing as Antique Electronics Supply. And they have, I think they're around $30. And then you just put a stock telly bridge on it if you want to, but a stock telly bridge for a guy who plays PRSs might seem kind of bright. I mean, that's the tough thing when you're going back and forth between Gibsons and PRSs, and then you pick up a telly. a really authentic telly, that telly can seem really bright against those other guitars. So you tend to want, if you're going to want them to work next to those other instruments, you usually either need to have a second channel on your amp that has a different EQ, or an EQ pedal, or you set the the guitar up so that it doesn't sound so bright. So a 6-saddle bridge with cast steel saddles and a little bit hotter pickup, like those Texas Special pickups, will allow the telly to sound a little bit less bright is the main thing, and have a little bit more output so it doesn't drop off so much. Because the telly pickup next to what's coming in your PRS guitars is a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A little brighter.
Those are all the things you have to work out. One of these days, I have a pedal that's supposed to be, it's like a dual booster. It's going to correct the problems between two different guitars. If you have two guitars that are different, say you're playing a Gibson and then you're also playing like a Fender Strat or whatever, or a Telly, and it's lower output, you'll be able to use this pedal just as soon as you pick up your Strat or your Telly, and it'll bring the level up while still keeping the sound exactly the same. And so one of these days I'll make that. I'm sure somebody else already has one. I don't think that's that much of a genius idea, but it can be necessary when you're going between different guitars if you're not trying to overplay the character differences between them.
Somebody's saying they use brass saddles for their E&A strings on the telly.
Yeah, that can work. Goto also makes a brass saddle. I tend to I'll grab one of them. I'll show you what I usually do.
So while he's doing that, in honor of Stratter Day, I hope Brody's still in the chat. So in the interviews with Brody, he's talked about getting his daughters get pink guitars and his boys get blue guitars. So here David's back. But here is I'll let David go. Here you go.
So
okay,
the bridge plate is from a Mexican guitar. They're only like $11 on eBay. I actually put them. This is an American guitar, and I actually like that bridge plate so much that I'll buy Mexican bridges just to steal the bridge plate out of it. And then the saddles are I get from CE Distribution, and those are solid steel, and they're made by Goto, and they work perfectly on that. And they sound really balanced, really neutral. They have great sustain. And so if you've already got one of those bridges, you just buy the saddles, and I think I found a lot better saddles that go on this. The cast material that they're using on those Mexican Telecasters, it doesn't seem very lively. And I'm not talking about brightness. It just doesn't seem to have like good sustain properties. It just feels a little plasticky, a little dead. And so that tends to improve those. It's my favorite bridge, actually. My favorite bridge isn't necessarily, the standard, 3 saddle. Now that's a Joe Barden that I have on there, and then I put Fender saddles on that. I'm incredibly particular about bridges, if that's not already coming through.
Yeah, they're saying that you need a dealer account for CE Distribution.
You might. So you can also, Antique Electronics is the same business.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what BB Main said. Yep.
There might even be one more name that they go under, but you can buy those saddles on eBay too, and probably Reverb and a bunch of other places. And it's a solid steel cast saddle, but I'll have to send you the link to make sure that it's, because they make a couple of different widths, but the most common one is the one that you need. So it's pretty hard to get the wrong one.
Okay.
But never know. It's just your luck.
Right. Pat, why don't you show that guitar that you have, and I'll grab that Mexican telly.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm not sure if Brody's still on. So, in commemorating, his daughter was born, I think, a little before my son, and so he got her a pink Stratocaster, right? So, to get those vintage colors, maybe you get lucky enough to find a Mexican one. But my son was born in 2003, and to commemorate his birth, I bought him this, and Jason hasn't even seen this yet. Rosewood neck 50th anniversary Strat in
nice.
Daphne blue, because my baby mama's name is Daphne. So isn't it funny that the boy color is Daphne blue? So it's a 50th anniversary. It is heavy as all get out, but This one's been sitting in the case for quite some time too. The only thing it has a little crack in the neck pocket that I'm not sure how concerned I should be about that, but it's hard to even see there. But we said other than being super heavy,
That's
got the same general bridge as that Telly saddles. What were you saying, David? Lost David.
I said that was probably a paint split in the neck pocket.
I could feel it a little bit, but I'm hoping it's just the paint. But either way, it's got a little grain on the neck. So anyway, Straturday. It's Straturday, people. There you go. There you go. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know if your connection. I'm sure he can't even hear.
Now, who?
Ooh, whoa, what is that?
We missed anything that you said about it. What is that?
It's a John Page. So John Page ran the custom shop at Fender for an awful long time. And so this is his guitar called an Ashburn, which is kind of his Strat. And what I like about it is he managed to make the Strat body and not copy Fender exactly. And it looks kind of like a modern art version of a Stratocaster, which I think is pretty cool. Even the headstock is kind of like a modern art take on it. And so the guitar as a whole actually works pretty well, I think. And it's a really good Strat for people who like guitars that are from Japan. It's an all made in Japan guitar. So he makes an American version of it that's extremely, I think, really expensive, like $3,000 or $5,000 or something like that. You can find these used for about $800, and they compete pretty handily anywhere between like an American standard or American professional Strat, which is like a $1,400 guitar, but they actually compete pretty well against like Sur and things like that. Even though this is a Japanese-made guitar, the pickups that come in them are very good. Can't really hear it over the internet, but they're cool guitars. And it's Daphne Blue. The reason I thought of that was when PJ showed his Daphne Blue. I was like, hey, I have a Daphne Blue.
So, and this is just the, oh my gosh, it's all dusty, but this is what we're talking about. Just an old, I forget what year it is, but it's a standard Mexican Tally, standard bridge.
Oh, that's a different bridge that I was talking about. That's got those little kind of, I don't know if that one will take the replacement saddles or not, because they're not cast, right?
No, they're
like a little. Yeah, I don't know about that one. It might be the same plate. It's hard for me to tell. That's only got 3 screws though, right?
The plate?
That's
Yeah.
Okay, so a typical Telly bridge has 4. So that might, I think an American standard bridge uses 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember. Excuse me.
It's
I'm pretty sure.
I want to say it's like a 92, but
Yeah, I don't know what fits that.
So Brian Lancers popped in a little bit ago. He said he ordered his gain changer.
Indeed, it went out today.
There you go, Brian. Went out today. Awesome. So I'm thinking, Dave, I think your internet out there is probably a little more spotty than it was where you were the other day.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah, it cuts. Sometimes you like cut in and cut out. Just so you know.
Yeah,
And the reason I mention that is because I know, is it this coming week you're going to be on Guitar Hack Show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't do it from the shop.
Yeah, so everybody knows that's watching, anybody that's watching right now, David's going to be on Guitar Hack Show. Do you know what day it is?
Thursday the 18th. Does that sound right?
Thursday. Hack was in here.
Looks like he still is.
Okay.
No.
Thursday, Hack? What time?
Maybe
Thinking about 10.
time has become a lot less rigid with COVID-19 lockdown.
Yes.
I don't know what day it is.
I
don't know. The sun's up. That's all I know. I see the sun. I'm happy.
Well, we'll see if he hears that. Well, that was interesting, man. Thanks for popping on and showing your guitars. Like, literally, we were like, well, we're just gonna kind of recap the week and talk and see what happens. And it was cool to see you in here and have you pop in. We've gone an hour and 20 minutes now, but I guess that's what you do, and somebody pops in and joins you. But,
Yeah.
I think that I'm looking to see if. Yeah, I was looking to see if Hack had commented yet when that's going to be. Brian said he's going to do a deep dive into the Game Changer. He will. Brian is one of those guys that likes to twist knobs and figure out everything you use it for. So I'll be interested to see that, Brian. Hack's Quarantine Blues is great. I haven't seen it yet. I think I did see I have a pop-up since we started. Hack released a Quarantine Blues. I'll have to go check that out. Anything else, Pat, that we need to talk about today?
No, I'm almost out of guitars that I have here at the house, so we'll save the other two for another time.
I have more.
Probably will not be on at 4:30 tomorrow.
Probably not.
Probably not. We were kind of back and forth on it. Yeah, it's Sunday, it's Easter, and we typically wouldn't do that on Easter, but like David just said, time isn't really a thing right now. But my wife kind of looked at me when I said maybe Easter. She was like, no.
You'll be doing an Easter egg hunt, just you, Lori, and the dog, Zelda.
She kind of put the kibosh on that. So, David, you have anything else before we end this?
Thank you for letting me crash your party.
Oh man, you're welcome anytime.
You're the coolest guy at the party.
Right. We're gonna be crashing your parties hopefully when this thing ends. So
yeah.
Oh my god. So all right. I did have an idea though, do you have, if you have any of those old, kind of the bigger boxes sitting around?
I do.
Like a Game Changer and a direct drive in the same box would be really cool.
So here's where I am, and hopefully my connection will stay on long enough. I'm about 15 or 20 pedals away from being out of all of our traditional stock. So over the last 3 or 4 days, I've been looking for what I have the parts to make. And so what I'm likely going to do is I got 6 old style direct drive enclosures, the kind I think might be a little bit different than that. I'll show you real quick.
Hey, Ak, we were asking what day and what time you're having Dave on. Okay.
So I've got some tone pumps. So the tone pump was one of our earlier pedals, and I found some of those enclosures. I found direct drive. These are usually called the V6 because they had a V6 pedal PC board inside them. And then I found some burn unit enclosures.
Now, which one was the kind of Dumble-ish one? Yeah,
that's the Dumble sounding one. So what I was kind of thinking about was letting people kind of, and this always goes completely haywire and then it goes nuts, and I'm sorry I did it. But I was going to try to do something where I let people kind of customize them to an extent. Not paint, because the paint's done and I'm not an artist. But as far as if somebody wanted a little bit higher gain or lower gain, circuit out in either direction. Those either gain, they can have more or less. But these tend to have controls on the interior for mid-range and bass and note shape and presence and stuff like that. Actually, this one has a control on the top for bass. But I was thinking these direct drives, it might be cool to make them like a 4-input. So that's part of the. As a matter of fact, when I had the guitars plugged in, I was using the 4-input setting. So 4-input just means it sounds like a 60s Marshall or a late 50s Bassman, which are pretty similar circuits. And so it's got all that dynamics, it's got all that grunt to it. But I was thinking these were typically pretty high gain, whereas the 4 input's not, super high gain. And so I was thinking, well, our current direct drive doesn't have any interior trim pots for bass. It doesn't have any interior trim pot for presence, and this does. The board that we have for these has a couple of knobs on it. So I was kind of thinking it might be fun to do just like, I only have like 6 of these enclosures, like 6 of them in some kind of a unique configuration, but I have no idea whether people are interested in that kind of stuff or not. I mean, there's always some hound out there that wants something different. I just don't know whether there's 6, and the burn units, I'm pretty sure I could sell a couple of those off. So I'm getting creative with what stock I have, remaining. There's not a whole lot. I do have 1 bus remaining. I offered those the other day on the gear page. I mentioned that I had them, and I think everybody thought they just were gone already, but I actually do still have one of those. So anyway, I probably found about 30 enclosures total that I'm going to be getting creative with. So I'm going to be letting people run with it a little bit until they run too far.
Sounds cool. That sounds cool. You should do. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea.
I think the direct drive version 19, that would be what they would be called.
Just
nice. I'm really kind of cognizant about that. I'm like, will anybody actually want to commemorate COVID-19? I'm thinking people are going to want to forget. So I'm kind of, do I make things that I consider like the COVID-19 version? Because I have a feeling, I mean, we're not done.
No, I think it's a good idea. You just take your white Sharpie or whatever it is you use, and you sign it, and you write COVID-19 and the date on it, and be done with it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we like when we have pedals that are signed by the maker and stuff like that, right? I mean, people like that stuff.
Well, I usually sign every one now because I'm usually the one packaging them all up. I mean, you're looking at the shipping bench right there. That kitchen island that's got a mess of stuff on it right now. I mean, that's where I, put everything down and package it up. I mean, there's bikes behind it and another computer behind that and a bunch of other stuff. But since I'm already there packaging it, yeah, I sign it.
Here we go. The dog paw wants a 4-channel multi-band distortion with selectable clip types per and adjustable compressor per. Figure that one out.
All right, I quit.
Stump the band.
Stump the band.
This is what happens when I say, go ahead and get creative. Everybody just like, well, I want a chorus in it, a delay, and I'm always sitting there going, but it's this big. It's only this big.
Well, when you get if you make some one-off, send us a link. Well, I'll watch your page for a link. I'll definitely reshare them so people in this community see them. We'll bring them up if they come out. That would be awesome.
Cool.
That's unless I want it.
Right. then you'll just show the new pedal you just bought.
He said, if anybody can do it. So he has faith in you. He said, if anybody can do it, you can do it.
I'd have to make a new board. That's the thing where I get into trouble is when somebody asks me for a little more gain or a little bit more mids or less bass. Those things tend to be a little more. But when somebody's circuit in it, I want another foot switch or something like that, and then I need another board.
Right.
And that's a lot of design work. Some things get crazy expensive.
Right. So Guitar Hack just said, looking forward to Thursday. Hack, we were asking you a little bit earlier. Can you throw the time up for Thursday?
He did. He said Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be there. Thursday, 8 p.m. I'm going to watch. So I think with that, and before my wife kills me.
Before you become the Easter ham.
Right. Because we had dinner to make. I think we'll wrap it up there. But if you're around, Dave, thanks for stopping on. If you've been around and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I think with that. Yep.
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard and our special guest, David Barber, reminding you no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. Happy Straturday.
Right.
See ya.